Hello guys, welcome back to this fourth part of the avatar bending effect tutorial. So this we are going to do the eyes effect here like I showed you in my VFX. So we are going to track this with it and add eyes on this. So let's get started. The first thing I will do to track this, so I've showed you several times how to track, but I'm going to show you once again, but this will be a fast track. So for this you can see that I'm using auto track because it's very fast and I will get best results, so why not doing it? So A, then track forward. To track in Blender is very easy. So I'm going to delete all those bad tracks. Then I will go to the second frame, press A, then H to hide them, then add detective features again. So what I'm going to do is to track backward. Okay, so I'm going to clean up once again. Bring back my hidden track, so press Alt then H to bring the other tracks. Now we have a full scene which is tracked, so I'm going to press A to select every tracker. Now I'm going to solve this, but before I solve this I will put my camera settings, the camera details, camera, then aspect ratio 23.5. the camera is shot width is 23.5 and the lens is, if I'm not mistaken, it will be 35 millimeter. So that will be 35 millimeter and everything should be okay. I'm going to go to the solve, then click on this keyframe and up click at center, then I will just solve the camera motion. You can see that that's straight up this line, so that's what matters. Okay, so I'm going to just, let's come down here, set scene. Now we have here this in the scene. Now you just orient it like we should do. So pick track, set floor, then pick one as the origin. So then the scale, two trackers, then set scale. So I'm just going to put this at 2 meter, then set scale. Okay, so this should be fine. You can see that it's perfect. So let's go back to the layout. Now if you want to see your tracking markers, you can just click here, then turn on back your tracking markers. You can see everything according to the scene. Press 0 to view the camera. Now we are going to go to add our 3D elements on this. Okay, now after doing motion tracking, we have some default settings set for us, which is motion blur and this 2 render layer, but I don't really want 2 render layers, so I always delete one. Okay, now I have, let me delete one, so now I have 1 render layer. Alright, so now that is set, what I will do is to delete this cube. Alright, so from the ground, which is the ice, let me hide this first. So let me delete this lamp. Okay, so for the ice itself, I'm going to just create a plane, another plane, which is this side. Shift A, add a plane here, scale it up a bit, we drag it up, like so. Okay, so I'm going to drag this forward a bit. So I'm going to delete this, I don't need this one. I'm going to drag it forward a bit more. Okay, I'm going to start from here. Okay, let me start from here. So I'm going to just, I will go to this vertex paint. Okay, so I'm going to tap 7 to go to the front view, the top view rather, and I'm going to increase this brush. The brush size should be bigger, and I will click on this once. Weight paint. Let me go to the weight paint. Okay, I will click on this once. So it's not working. So okay, it's because I've not yet subdivide this. So I'm going to press W. Edit mode W, then subdivide this multiple times. So I just give it a subdivision of 40. Let's see that way. Okay, this will do. 40 will be So I'm going to back to the vertex paint mode, then click at the center. You can see how that looks. So it's still small based on your liking. So I'm going to do this to be way more bigger and click. Okay, this should be okay. And for this now, I already have a group assigned under it. You can see we have a group assigned under it. And what I'm going to do is to go to the modifier settings here. Let me drag this down a bit. I'll go to the modifier. So I'm going to add a subdivision surface first, which I will set to 2, then another displacement. So I'm going to add a new displacement and click here, and I will choose a cloud texture. Okay, now I will just increase this cloud here to be way more, something like this. Let me give it some depth, more depth. Okay, I will go back to the modifier and I will add this to the vertex group. So I will just click here, add it to the vertex group. You can see what it looks like now during the vertex group. So what I'm going to do is to drag this up because I want it to be way up, not down. You can see it's come down, and this is how to make it way up. You can see how it looks. And we also have the strength. You can increase the strength. You can see you can increase the strength based on what you like. And this is how I make the ice grown texture and ice grown effect. So I'm going to go back to the texture. I will just tweak the settings based on what will look good to me. You can see how this looks. You can see. So I'm going to duplicate this multiple times, so like 3 times. I will first of all drag this forward a bit, then I will decrease the effect. So I'm going to decrease this effect. So decrease this strength like so. So let me press 0 to view how this look, and I'm going to scale this down a bit. Okay, so that should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to drop this also down. This will be the starting. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this again, Shift D, then drag this to the side like so. Then we have something like this. I'm going to make sure this is way more up and way up than this one. This is how I do it. You can see, drag this to be more closer to it. You can see how it looks. So I'm going to make sure it's way more higher than it, and I'm going to go back to the texture and give it a randomized looking. So you can see that it's take the same texture from it. So let me just leave it like so. Right, you can see that this is already looking good. So for the next, I'm going to pick the next one, Shift D again, drag it to the side. Let me just press N to make sure you can see what I'm pressing. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this is also very near to it, and I'm going to increase the strength. I'm going to increase the strength way more, and this is how I do it. You can see this is how I do it. And when you play this, you have something like this. So you can see that in my own video, what I did was I animate this to grow like growing live according to the length of the video. So you can do that also by doing some keyframe to it. So what I will do now is to click on this. Let me start from this one. What I will do is to make sure I drag this one down a bit, and I'm going to keyframe here. So I'm going to click here. So let me just press 0 to see where I'm going to start. So I'm going to start from this 91 frame, and I will click here. This now I add a keyframe to this, and going to the 210 frame, or let me just choose 220 frame. I'm going to make sure I animate this and this grown up. So I will click here once again to assign the keyframe. So when you play this, you can see how it grows up. And for the third one, which is the biggest one, I will start from something like here. I will just click on it, insert a keyframe to it, and I will drop it down a bit. Then for this I'm going to drag it way more up and assign another keyframe. So that is how I do it. So this is how I made this. Okay, so it is looking good already. So let me do the shading to see how it will look in the shading. So doing the shading is a little bit more tricky, and I will show you exactly how I do the height shading. So go back to the shading. So add a new texture, you call it eyes. Okay, for this, let's now this look it's not looking icy, so let's give it a transmission. For this, let's add a transmission to this, and the roughness also, let's drop down the roughness. Let's start something like water for now. It's looking like a water already. So for this, I want to change this HDRI to something like just show something different. Let me choose this one. Okay, so I want to be able to see everything I'm doing more properly. Okay, for the eyes, to be able to see the eyes properly, let's click here on this surface, or this surface radius. Now set this to 0.3. The second one should be 0.3, and the third one should also be 0.3. Okay, set that to 0.3 so it will be more clear. Okay, now let's play around with the texture. So first thing, add a merge drift texture, Shift E, go to merge drift texture, merge drift texture. Then let's view this merge drift texture and let's tweak it. You can see how this looks. So if we decide to put this in the displacement, we have something like this. But instead of that, we will not put this in the displacement. We put it in the roughness or the transmission. So let's put this in the transmission first to see how this will look. So in the transmission, this is how. No, this is transmission roughness. No, the transmission itself. Okay, this is how it looks in the transmission. You can see how it looks. So we can tweak this very much more by adding converter, then color ramp. Add a color ramp to this. So in this color ramp, it depends on what you want. Let me view this color ramp to see exactly. So I just click on this black part and I will raise it up a bit. So let's see how this looks. Okay, so the roughness, let me drop down the roughness. So let me clamp this. Now we can assign the same texture to other objects. So click on the next object, then assign the ice material to it. Okay, there are some things we have to do to this to make it even more better. You can see that these plate edges, we are seeing every edges here, but we don't need to see these edges in the frame. So we have to paint the matte ourselves, which is the black and white value. We have to paint it in the texture painting section. So I will show you how to do that now. Okay, now let's do the texture painting. Go to the texture painting mode. Alright, let's start from the first one. So let me just go back. Select the first one, texture painting. So I'm going to scroll up. Instead of doing the material, I'm going to draw a single texture. So I click here, click on single image, add new. This I will times it by 2, press times and 2, x2. So we multiply it by 2. Okay, so after that, this is really black, and you should give the name like ice mask. So this is what it is. I mask itself. So press OK. Now it's set to black. So we have to paint the edges. You can see how it's going. So we are painting where we don't want to see anything in the scene. So according to this, you can paint it here. You can see that it's also working here. You can paint it here. Okay, you can see how it looks. So what I will do now is to click here on this image, then save as. Now you can save this anywhere you want. So I save it as picture, then I will give it extra name, then I will save as image. So this is saved now. So to use this, let me just show you how to use it. Go to the shading. Now if you press Shift A, go to the texture and select image texture. In this image texture, you can click here, then add this mask. You can see this mask already. You can see how it looks. So for you to use this as a mask, press Shift A again, go to the shader and add a mix shader. Put it here, then drop this to this, then add it here. Okay, we need to put this mask should be the factor. Just click on this mask and set it to the factor like so, and the shader that will be at the first or maybe the second, I should say, just press Shift E, go to the shader, then set a hold out shader, then plug that here. Wait for it to come up. Okay, you may not see anything now, but if you go to the cycles, let's go to the rendered itself, you can see that we have these edges invert, but if you want to have it, you just put it like this. You should be able to see everything properly. So the reason why we are not seeing anything here is because we haven't set our render, which is the HDR environment. So for us to see, let's just use this. So if you click on E0, now let's go to the layout. We should be able to see this in render. But if we are not seeing this in the render, let me just do this. Maybe you can see this. So we are still not seeing it. So the best way is to go to the cycles render engine. Then this will show up. You can see this is black texture. And if you want to see this, just come down to the film, then turn on the transparency. You can see how this looks. This is exactly what we are looking for. You can see how it looks. So this is how to do this. So let's wait for it to load. Alright, now this is how it looks. So you can see that it has the proper light that comes from the environment. So that is how you do it. So the next thing is to make sure in the compositing is where I add this frost on the floor. So let's go ahead and do the compositing. So to do that, first thing, I'm going to mask out where I want the frost to happen. So I will go to the motion tracking, select all, then H to hide them. So after doing that, I'm going to click here, go to the mask section. You can press tab to just toggle to the mask section. I will click here to add a new mask. So I'm going to draw a mask and exactly where I want this to be. So I'm going to just click, control click and drag. Okay, so this is how I want this to be. This is exactly where I want this to be. Okay, so I want this mask to be animated. You can see that it's not animated, so I want it to them. Instead of animated, I want to be track this mask. So I will go back to the track section here, and I'm going to track one place, like somewhere here. Press S to scale it up a bit, then track forward. So I'm going to click here, then track backward. So what I'm going to do is to parent this track to the mask. So go back here to the mask section, to the mask like so. Then I will press A to select it. Then I will press Ctrl then P. That should parent it. You can see how it's parented with Ctrl P. So this is exactly what I want. So now you can just keyframe this just to make sure you have this in proper angle you want it to be. So I'm going to just to align this properly once again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to go to the frame where I want this composite to start. So let me say something like here. Then I'm going to align it properly. Okay, now I'm going to go to the compositing. So this is done. Go to the compositing. So to add this type of frost, you can see here I've done the demo. So to add this type of frost, click on new to use nodes, press shift A, go to input, add a movie clip, go to shift A again, go to input, go to the output instead, add a viewer to this, then shift A again. Now add a composite node. So press shift A, go to add a alpha over node to connect them together. Like so. Okay, now let's do the effect. This is the proper image. So to do this, we need to separate the RGB. Let me show you something here. This is the channel. This is the channel. This is the red, green, and the blue, which is the RGB. Okay, so to do this, we need to separate the RGB first. Okay, press shift A, go down here to the converter. Now come to separate RGBA. Plug that here. Now we can view the channel individually to see exactly the type of channel we have here. So for this, let's start with the red. I think the red, I finally use the red in this. Now press shift A, go to the vector, go to converter. Now add color ramp to this. Now we need to just drag this color ramp to give this some variation. We need to clamp it. You can see how this look. So depend on how you want this to look. You can see you need to clamp it together. Okay, after doing that, press shift A, add a color, go to gamma. Now reduce the gamma to something like 7.7. Okay, after that, also press shift A, go to color, add a hue saturation value. Now increase the value like so. So after doing that, we are seeing something more like eyes. If you are not seeing this, just wait for it, you will see it. So let me drag this backward a bit to have more room to work with. Okay, after doing that, let's add a blur node to this. Press shift A, go to the filter, add a blur, put this here, set it to the fast Gaussian, then give it the x and y value of 2. Okay, you can see that this is looking more like eyes. Now let's connect this with our array footage. So press shift A, go to the color. Now come to the mix, plug that here. Now plug this to the first image, and then plug this one to the second image down here. Now plug this together. Let's plug this together like so. So what we want to happen here is that we don't want to see the black value, and to be able to get rid of the black value, we need to set this mix to something like add. Click on add. Now we don't see the black value anymore. You can say that this looks like a frost. So to be able to see this in the exact part we mask out, press shift A, go to the input. Now add the mask. Click here. Now we need to select the mask. You can see the mask. So press shift A, go to the filter. Now the blur node. We need to blur this very well. So increase the blur, like let's give it a 10 of 10. The x and y value should be 10 of 10. So I think we even need more. Let's add 50. Okay, let's start from this. Now plug this to the factor and the magic happens. You can see now we have frost on the floor. this is how I do this composite. I hope you understand how I do this, because this is very, very cool, and I just know you can do this, and it's very, very cool. Okay, so you just have to separate the channel. You can see the channel, then color ramp, gamma, use saturation, then blur it, then add it back on top of our raw footage. Now we can add our render layer back on top of everything. Just press Shift A, go to color, then go to the input. Now add the render layer to this. So press Shift A again, go to the color again, alpha over node. Now plug this alpha over here to the top, then your render layer should be at the bottom. Now plug this to the down socket of this alpha over, and your composite should look like this. Now let's render this. Let's give it a test render to see what will look. Okay, now I've rendered this, and this is how your final image should look like. So let's go back to the composite. If you do it correctly, and I show you that there's no any Blender tutorial that I've done this type of effect, and this is exactly how to do the frost on ground. I'll still show you how I do the frosting that is growing. I will still show you how to do that, but it's not like this type. This is a composite frost, so that one is different. Okay, so now we have this, so we can just make sure we do this also to look more like the frost on ground. And to do this, so we can just copy some few things from here. So let's also add a gamma node to this, color gamma, then let's drop down the gamma a bit. Let's leave this in 800 first. Okay, so for the value, let's go to the hue, saturation value, look that and increase the value a bit. Okay, you can see that now it's blend. This is how to do this. Now you can just do your final composite the way you like. So you can just do your final composite way you like and render this out. And this is exactly how to do this. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And the project file, if you want to see more settings on this, especially this node network, the project file will be in the description on my Patreon, so you can get this there. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next tutorial.